Case, what the hell are you doing? We got a show in like 2 minutes.
What am I doing, Chinch? Just got our first sponsor, brother. I can't believe it. RevTown Jeans just sent me these unbelievable jeans, bro. Most comfortable jeans I've ever put on. They almost feel like sweatpants. I was doing squats just to make sure I was correct in my thinking.
Yeah, if you guys are just listening to this, Sean was basically just bouncing around his room, but he's wearing jeans, which, by the way, my last name's Cencimino. Sean, I'll take the part of how they're made because they're Italian milled denim. What that means is they're infused with a trademark athletic stretch yarn, so you get premium jeans with an amazing fit and a comfort of your favorite sweatpants, like Sean was just doing. If you go to our YouTube page, you'll see it. RevTown cuts out the middleman. They offer them directly to the consumer for a ridiculous price, Sean.
Dude, I tell you what, Chinch, you got to get a pair of these, bro. The most comfortable jeans you will ever put on, no doubt about it. Go to RevTownUSA.com and order yourself some jeans, Chinch, because you're going to absolutely love them.
Let's do it.
Let's get this party started, Chinch. We got a show to do, brother.
Yeah.
Roll the animation. All right, man. Chinchy, this is going to be a good one, bro.
Yes,
first time. Well, second time in person, but first time we got the two mics set up. Last week we had Leyland just dominating the one mic, and he and I. So,
baby steps.
Man, before we get going, before I introduce this guy, I just want to go down a list of a couple things, and we'd like to embarrass our guests because they did dominate. This guy's 16-year major league career, drafted by the Rangers, right? Traded to the Marlins, play with me with the Reds for a couple of years. Went to the Cubs, Rangers, and then ended up winning the World Championship with the Red Sox 2013. Two-time All-Star. One as a starter, one as a closer?
Both as a starter.
Both as a starter. Okay, both as a starter. 2 seasons in the top 10 in wins. 3 seasons top 10 in saves. Get a load of that. That's really tough to do. Mm-hmm. 5 seasons in the top 10 in Ks. Career high 33 saves in 05 with the Cubs. Career high 17 wins in 08 with the Cubs. So went to closing and then starting. Not easy to do again. We talk about Smoltz. We talk about this guy. 200 Ks in a season twice, 2000, 2010. Last year in the big leagues, won the World Series championship with the Red Sox. So cool. And this is a cool one because knowing this guy, I know how much this means to him. Inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in 2019, which is a really big deal.
Incredible.
Some of the guy, incredible deal. Also, he's an actor. He's a comedian, magician. He has his own show Off the Mound on Marquee Network, and just one of the best dudes you'll probably ever meet in your life, and a dear friend of mine, Ron Dempster. Dempy, so good to have you.
Dempy.
Dude, I'm just fired up that I finally got invited to the mayor's office. Like, I thought we were good friends, and then I started questioning things as I saw more and more guests, but that's okay. I wasn't trying to steal the spotlight. No, dude, it is awesome to be here with you, Chinch. This is great, man.
Well, we wanted to make sure we had everything perfect when you came. We're just kind of getting things perfect. Right?
We got everything right for the most laid back guest that we've had so far. All the other guys are trust me.
I don't like to share a microphone, so you got me my own.
There you go. It's COVID. Really times of COVID. Hey, there's one other accolade that he has that I don't think many people know. One of the most unique personal life bio pages on Wikipedia. If you guys take a look at this. Dempster is widely known for his laid-back attitude, constantly joking with fans and teammates, and is said to be a positive contribution to a team's clubhouse. His fun and easygoing personality was especially evident when in comments to an Arizona newspaper in 2007, he stated that if his career as a closer began to tumble, he would pursue ninja training. Is that correct? Is that a true story?
So that is a true story, and she wrote an amazing article, and I can't remember her name, but what happened was I made this kind of transformation in my body. I got a little heavy.
Right. Why'd you get heavy? What happened?
It was a combination of a little bit of like the team wasn't very good, and it was closing, and so then when your team's not very good and you're the closer, you don't close very much.
So you're just crushing candy bars. And
it was like late night dinners.
Right.
You know, it was like the steakhouse at 11 o'clock at night for the last minute, like last call with a bottle of wine. Like I thought I was Andre the Giant. Like I could just throw those back. So I get myself in good shape, you know, and it was noticeable and everybody talked about it. And then we went to go play the Rockies in Tucson, and I'm in the, you know, I could see this, I'm in the dugout. I could see this person staring at me, and she's kind of like, I know she wants to talk to me about something. And I don't know what in my mind made me go to this, you know? And she just said, man, you're in really great shape. You know, what's been the biggest difference this, you know, off season? What did you do? And I just told her about my ninja training. You know, like, it's so funny. And like the professionalism which she showed, you know, because at first it was like, okay, what are you going with? But I just went deeper. You know?
Like all you can do.
Yeah, it's just like if you're gonna go there, go the whole way.
Like, did you kind of go in like, you know, samurai training or like?
Yeah, well, she asked what does ninja training entail, and I was like, well, you know, stuff like going around the house and sneaking up on people. That's a really big one.
Nice.
Throwing stars. Practice throwing stars. What better accuracy, the way to improve your accuracy than be able to dart up a sign with throwing stars? You know? So, and then it was, I think the headline was, she wrote, which is really great. It says, Cubs closer's goal. Save 50 games, learn to use nunchucks.
Yes.
That's what the title of the article said. It's so good.
God, it's so good.
So yeah, that is a great Wikipedia
So
update.
good.
I like that one right there.
So good. So let's go back, Demp, you know, because what's great about you, bro, is like getting to know the Canadians. A lot of the guys that I've played with over the years. Chris Reese is one of my dear friends, lives out in Calgary, and I know baseball is not the first sport there. You know, right? Obviously, it seems like you guys are all hockey players. You have such a unique story. Growing up in Gibson's, right outside British Columbia, Canada.
Outside of Vancouver, yeah.
Right outside Vancouver. Can you take us through your journey as, you know, what it took for you to be a baseball player? Because I think it's phenomenal, you know, everything that you had to do to just get to practice.
Yeah, you know, when I look back at it now, in the moment when you're doing it, it didn't seem like a big deal.
Right.
You know, but then when you're like, man, I did that, and I did that, holy cow, you know? So basically, like, we had Little League like everywhere else, and it was super popular, but at a certain threshold, it kind of just, like, came to a grinding halt. Right. And I was 14 years old. We just finished. We played our summer tournament. Everything was great. And then I was like, I want to keep playing baseball. But from 15 on, it was like 3 teams, 6 kids on each team might show up. You know, you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
So it was like, all right, I want to go to the city. And in order to go to the city, in order to go to Vancouver from Gibson's, it's a 40-minute ferry ride. And then, you know, another half hour to 40-minute car ride or bus ride. So I was really lucky. John Howden coached us. His son Jeremy and I were good friends. So me, Jeremy, and Ross Pearson, we played in West Van, Cypress Park Little League as 15-year-olds. And then I was playing at 15, and I was playing at a game, and I was catching, and I hosed the dude at second base by a lot. And I think that kind of caught some eyes of some people.
This guy's got a cannon.
Got a cannon. I was back picking dudes. Like, you know, I was the Pudge of 15-year-old West Vancouver Little League, you know? Nice. And so then this coach, Dave Empey, came up to my coach at the time, Johnny, and I just loved the line that John gave back to him. And I thought this really summed me up, was Dave said, hey, does he want to play professional baseball? And John Howden, my coach, said no. And he kind of had this like, really? And he goes, no, he doesn't want to play pro ball. He wants to play in the big leagues.
Wow.
And because that wasn't my goal, was to just play professional. I wanted to be in the big leagues. I want to play 20 years in the big leagues. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I came up short, but it's okay.
4 years short.
You did all right.
But and so then he kind of made a phone call and said, do you want to come do this? And I'll never forget the first practice I go to. I'm getting picked up. He said, Paul's going to pick you up. My assistant coach is going to pick you up on the other side. He's driving a purple Corvette. Now, like, if you want to get nervous, you know, go get picked up by a coach you never met in a purple Corvette. And not only that, he's like leaning up against the Corvette like Billy Madison style, you know. He's got his sleeves rolled up, and he's got this gigantic afro, right? And Paul, later on, did I find out he was the lead singer for a band called Invasion. So he had the full rock star. Oh yeah, it looked like the band members, like his brother as well was in the band. Paul's brother was in the band, and they look like straight out of Whitesnake, you know. like almost D. Snyder type afro.
Were they good? Like, were they good? Did you ever hear a couple songs?
Yeah, they were like one of the premier coveted high school or wedding cover bands, like, because everybody wanted to come play. You know, at that time they were like, you know, that kind of late 80s rock band, man. They played the part. Oh yeah, man. It was a different persona, and actually, like, Paul ended up being one of the best coaches I had, and Dave was awesome. And so then I just started making that journey from Gibson's to Vancouver daily. Sometimes, you know, like having to go to my teacher first thing in the morning, being like, I'm going to miss biology. Can I get the homework assignment? Go run out of school, hop on the bus, take the bus 10 minutes down to the ferry, go onto the ferry, play pole position and Donkey Kong for 40 minutes, and then sprint off to the bus, catch the express bus down to Ambleside Park, boom, practice baseball, and then be back on the last ferry at home that night.
And you had to, you were saying too, you had to make the ferry, or it was like, we got to stay, right? We got to stay the night in the city.
The last ferry went at 9:15 p.m., not 9:16, 9:15. And that thing, like, you know, like, there was a couple times I'm like, I can make the jump, you know, like the thing, it's like cranking up, and I'm like, I can do it. I got basketball practice in the morning, but you know, then you end up having to stay until like catch the first ferry in the morning at 7:20 and do that. But yeah, it was I remember how many times, because so like every time I go into the city, my mom would, you know, give me money. Here's $20. Here's $20, because you got between the cost of the ferry, the taking the train or the bus, and then all of a sudden you got food, right? So $20. Well, I figured if I could sneak on the ferry, you know, that's a couple extra chili dogs and a few more games of pole position. I'm going for it, right? So what I did was I would do like remember in Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he's trying to sneak into Universal Studios and he's like back behind the group of people and he's like, yeah. I would do that. I would follow families in like I was like their fourth son, you know. It was just great. But for an extra $5, it was worth it, you know.
That's so great. Mom, what are we doing on the ferry?
I think we should go to the cafeteria first. People are looking back like, who's he talking? Do you know him? Is he with us? Yeah, it was quite the experience. And you know what? I'll give my hats off to my family, but my teachers, man. Because I was missing like 75 classes this semester, my junior and senior year of high school, playing ball. And for whatever reason, I don't know if they just heard or they knew or they sensed my passion, but they never like kind of were like, you're going to get an F because you're not coming. They were always good about giving me my homework and making sure I do it. So I was so thankful. This amazing support system that helped me get off the coast, you know, not an island.
Right, not an island.
I mean, you can get there on horseback or dirt bike or pack yourself an overnight bag for 3 days and go through the bush. But yeah, no roads.
So who was the scout that drafted you? And, you know, what's that story?
Tim Hallgren. My first scout, the first bird dog. You know, you get the bird dog.
Oh, yeah, you read the bird dog? Talk to me. Oh. He had me fill out a form. I'd write down what my 60 was, or like, hey, the bird dog never called me back.
Yeah. Dude, I watch all these kids go to like Wrigley and play the All-American games that Casey's coaching for, you know, and all these stuff. And I'm like, they all think they're in the big leagues, right? Here we were getting cards from Don Cherry. Not Don Cherry, Don Cherry, okay? Yes. Sherry. He was with the Texas Rangers, and he was the first bird dog that gave the little card out to me. And then, you know, Jim Chapman was the scout with the Dodgers, and they started scouting me, and Tim Hallgren was with the Rangers. And they came up. Sandy Johnson was a national cross-checker. He came up, and it just started to become this thing. You know, you get 20 scouts at a game with the radar guns. I got a great picture, and you know my Uncle Russ.
Yeah.
My Uncle Russ is in the middle of the scouts with a hairdryer. And he's pointing the hairdryer, just like looking over. Look at this.
Oh, my God.
Which I never understood, by the way. Why do all the scouts sit up there? And, like, there's 20 of them. Like, do you just not need one radar gun?
Can't you ask your buddy next door, hey, but what do you got there? 93. Yeah. What do you got there? 95. 20 radar guns. This is true. Yeah. But it is cool as a player. When you see the guns go up, you're like, all right, it's on.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys see me. You know what I mean? Like,
it was pretty sweet.
What I always felt bad for, though, was so I had played with a couple kids in college where one threw like 95, but he clearly wasn't that good of a pitcher. But, you know, our best pitcher threw like 87 and broke stuff off. The saddest thing to me on a baseball field was when the guns are up and then the next guy comes on a mound and then all the guns get packed up and all the scouts leave. I was always like, just at least hold it up there for like a batter for the next guy, you know?
Right? The guy, my teammates, and now they start like kind of resenting you a little bit. It's like, hey, dude, You know, this might be the day I break 90, and you guys aren't going to point that thing up here. Yeah, I totally agree. It was great, and they had the pinging. You'd hear the tuning devices going off. You know, back in the day. Ding, you know? Yeah.
Any guys you played with, like, in that ended up playing in the big leagues?
Yeah, well, and that was actually, you know, this is actually really cool. Nobody's ever brought this up before. My team, the North Shore Twins, the Wally Chiefs out in Surrey, there was the Wally Chiefs. They were really big. They had guys like, there was a shortstop named Kevin Nicholson.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
He got to the big leagues a little bit with the Rock. Yeah, he got drafted by the Padres,
Yes.
and he got up with the Rockies
Yes.
as well. Real good shortstop. He played for the Chiefs. But 5 consecutive years, Dave ran a program with the North Shore Twins where we would go play, like, we were playing weekends in Wenatchee and then Everett, and then we were down to like Tacoma and Bellingham, and we were going and just thumping these dudes.
Really?
Oh man, here's this team from Canada,
yeah.
and we'd spank them 14-1. They're just like, what is going on?
These guys
you know?
played hockey.
Yeah, and Dave was just like fundamentals. Like, we would take hundreds of ground balls, hundreds of swings in the cages, like. It was like everybody on our team could pitch, but not everybody was a pitcher. You know what I mean? Like, if you needed an inning, somebody could pitch. Guys could hit. We didn't strike out. You know, like, we played good baseball. But for 5 years, so it went Simon Pond, who played in the big leagues, left-handed hitter, played in the big leagues with the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. The next year, 1995, I got drafted by the Rangers. 5 years, top 10 rounds or lower, so top 10 round pick. And then it was Chris Mears, who was up in the big leagues with the Tigers, Rangers. Then we had I'm losing a brain. I'll get back to it in a sec. Clint Hosford, who never made it to the big leagues, and we had one other kid, and I'm thinking, Aaron Mayette, who was in the big leagues with Texas, got to the big leagues with I think Detroit as well. So I mean, an unbelievable program. Plus, a ton of kids went to D1s, went to junior colleges, top junior colleges in Northern California. So yeah, we had a lot of fun playing baseball in those days.
That's really cool, man. That's an unbelievable story. So you got drafted by the Rangers, but you're not there long.
No.
Right? Yeah. Tell us, I remember when I got traded. I came in with the Indians, and I get traded the day before opening day for Dave Burba, like the Reds opening day starter. Jim Bowden's crazy enough, enough of a vision. Thank you, Jim, for doing that for me, of trading his number one starter for a prospect, right? And I remember going in the office with Mark Shapiro, Buddy Black, and Scott Pioli was in there for whatever. He was the GM of the Patriots, not at that time, but he was later on. And I remember Buddy Black saying to me, Case, because I started balling. I thought I was going to play with Cleveland. And he's like, Case, he goes, this is your first time. It won't be your last. And the first time's always the hardest.
Yeah.
When you got traded. What about you when you got traded?
I'm just glad we're in the same company. I cried like a baby, right? Like,
I was hugging Mark Shapiro. I was like, I love you, Mark. I can't believe I'm not going to be with the Indians for 30 years.
I thought we were going to be going to weddings together, like everything. But yeah, it really is. It's hard. And like, same sort of thing. It's like you're going to be there forever. And I get vanity license plates, with the Texas Rangers logo on them. Like, God, man, all those shirts I just bought for my family, those aren't any good anymore. But just cry my eyes out to Brad Arnsberg, my pitching coach, same sort of thing. And he was really concerned. He was, Demper, what's wrong? And I'm telling him I got traded. He started laughing. I'm like, what are you laughing about? He goes, the way you came in, you're crying. I thought somebody died. This is great. This is a great thing. You're going to go you're going to move up the ladder faster. And it is hard, because you do envision yourself. And like, for me, it was like Texas Rangers. Nolan Ryan was my idol. I got to meet him in spring training that year. Yeah. I come around, I'm in spring training, 1996 in Port Charlotte, Florida. I come around the corner and, this guy's got a halo behind him. The sun wasn't out, but it came out in that moment. It was just like, all I could sit there is think, like, do you really take Advil so you can go another 9 innings? Like, it was just like the coolest thing ever. And it really broke my heart. But I realized then, later on that it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because then I got to come up with the Marlins. Yeah.
Talk about that, because, man, I go back. I came up with the Cleveland Indians. You guys were obviously, talk about a loaded minor league system. Oh, yeah. And let me see if I can remember enough of the guys. So you had Millar, Luis Castillo, Alex Gonzalez, Mark Kotze, Ryan Jackson,
Todd Dunwoody,
Redmond,
Braden Looper, and then the guys Looper. the guys we got that came up too, like the other guys that came in the trades, guys like, we had Joe Fontenot was a big prospect in the Rob Nen trade, and Mike Villano, who's a big like the amount of minor league. It was like we were the envy of everybody.
When in '97 we played you guys, I was in Double-A with the Akron Arrows, and you guys were in Portland, Maine.
Oh man, that team just.
I was like, this team's better than the big league team.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously the brass had to know that too. But
so was our AAA team in 1999, and Kevin Millar went ahead and said that. Like our Calgary Kansas team in AAA was absolutely just crushing it. And Millar says to the
Millar's
newspaper,
in the big leagues, right?
No, we're in Calgary.
Oh.
And he says, he loudly, the reporters are all in the locker room. He goes, I'm calling it right now. Best of 7, us against the Marlins. If we have home field advantage, we win. And then I get called up like 3 days later. I go up to the big league. It's my second time going up, but I get called up and I go to the locker room, and all of a sudden Bolsey calls me in the locker room. John Bolsey's like, "What's Kevin saying? What happened? Tell us the real story." I say, him. It's just like he was just talking, Bolsey, and some reporter heard it. So, but he wasn't far off. We had a stack guys like John Roscos and Russ Mormon. Remember Russ Mormon?
Russ Mormon.
Yeah, we scored 14 runs a game. It was nuts. We were just dumping, but we were just a bunch of veteran guys. They were a bunch of veteran guys. But so I come up.
Was D. Lee?
D. Lee was on it.
But did D. Lee come up with the Marlins?
He came up with the Padres. But then was traded in the Kevin Brown trade. So he got traded over from the Marlins.
And obviously Cliff's up there.
Cliff was already there. We have a couple of established guys like Cliff, Alex Fernandez.
It's phenomenal though.
But Levon Hernandez, Mikey Lowe. But Mikey had just come over from the Yankees. Yeah, for I can't remember who it was at the time, but. Like Preston Wilson and then later on, Josh Beckett, AJ Burnett, like
Carl Pavano.
Brad Penny.
Yeah.
Like all these guys. And so we were really loaded, but really green, and like your former guest who you just had on here at the mayor's office, Jim Leyland, I remember thinking this poor man, dude, like he just won the World Series, right? Like something that had been evaded. Here, and he doesn't even get a chance to just enjoy it.
Right. You lost 100 games.
When we had him on last week, remember he was promised that they were going to try to keep it together, but the owner decided he was just getting older and he had to sell, and it was nothing personal between them. But Leland brought that up. It was just like I thought we were going for it for the next 5, 6, 7 years, right?
Yeah, well, because those guys were like signed to those deals. They had those guys locked up.
They were like Sheffield was locked in, Leiter, Kevin Brown,
Bobby Bowe, Charles Johnson. Yeah. Like you said, Kevin Brown, and like you just go up and down the lineup. They were just they were loaded. Moises Alou.
I mean, dude,
it was one guy after another, and
Devon White.
Yeah. And so you had all these players that they trade away, and because of that, this is what's crazy. This is how crazy it is. So pan back to 1997. 1997, I'm in the Florida State League. I'm so bad in the first half of 1997. This is no lie. I finished the first half of the All-Star break with a 7.5 ERA.
Oh my gosh!
And John Bowles, who I mentioned was our manager at one point, he was our minor league field coordinator, and he came into Brevard County, and he showed up, and he grabbed me, and he said, "I need to talk to you." And he said, "What do you think you're doing wrong?" And I said, "Well, and I started talking. He goes, "You know what? Actually, I think would be the best thing for you right now. I think the best thing for you right now would be to shut up and listen to me." And he goes, "You need to start throwing more strikes. You need to get ahead of guys. You need to throw your breaking ball for a strike. Because guess what? I'm not sending you down to low A, and you're not going to double A.
Wow.
So you either figure it out here or you're done." And I'm like, "Whoa, okay." And
was he right? Was he right?
He was completely right in everything he said. I came off back-to-back starts where I gave up at least 8. I think it was 10 both starts, but at least 8 runs.
I was going to ask you about that, Demp, and especially for kids now who are coming up and you go through diversity and stuff. I think I was looking at it. I think you were 0-3 to start. You had a tough relief appearance, a tough starting appearance. What were you terrified? You were in your early 20s. You probably didn't have the same wisdom you have now. So what, other than that conversation, what was going through your head at the time? Were you like, I'm not good enough? Or were you like, I can do this?
Yeah, I was terrified because this is also a conversation that he's having with me fresh off of back-to-back starts against Daytona and Kissimmee where I never got out of the second inning in either start. And I gave up 10 in one and 9 in another. Wow. So I mean, it was bad. Wow. And, I think what happened was when all that happened and he challenged me, I always kind of was a guy that responded to that. You know, like if you put doubt in me, I wanted to prove that was wrong. You know, like I just kind of that went back as always that way. You know, I don't know if it was all the ferry rides and overcoming the odds that I was like, I'm going to overcome
Probably.
this. Yeah. And so I just started to just basically, I listened to him. I took him what he said, and I just started throwing strikes. Like I didn't worry about corners. I just like, let me find out what my stuff. And then all of a sudden it just showed, hey, whoa, I'm finding out that these guys aren't hitting it all over the place because guess what? It's not 2-0 every time. You know?
Right.
It's like it's a lot harder to hit 0-2. Case knows, you know that,
dude,
right?
You get 0-1 and my head starts spinning.
Yeah.
You get me 1-0, I'm like, it's on like, hey, let's get it on.
Yeah, because even if I throw you a breaking ball, it's got to be for a strike. So if I hang it a little bit, you're going to whack it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's amazing the amount of things you can get. And so now I finished the year really strong. I have a great second half of the season through a CG last start of the year against St. Lucie. Like things are good. I get a phone call in the off season. It's like, you're going to go to big league camp. And this was because they had traded all these guys away now.
That's right.
And I'm non-roster invitee. And you want to talk about being scared, dude?
Oh my God.
I got Jim Leyland as the manager, you know? I'm intimidated. I don't even like. I just hope he doesn't notice me, you know. And then I'm like, they just won the World Series, and all this stuff's happened. So I go there. You know, I was as nervous as can be. I pitched one inning against a national team. I think I want to say it was like the Cuban national team. I can't even remember. And the next day I come to the field and this is great, dude. I get, hey, Skip wants to see you. You got to go to Jim Leyland's office, and I'm like. Oh, all right. Okay. Trying to think of what I did wrong. You know? And he wasted no time. He's just like, hey, listen, you're not going to make the team. So you're going to go to minor league camp. Dude, we just started games. These are the exhibition games before the game started. And I was already getting sent out. And in my head, I go, and this is what I said to him. I go, hey, that's okay. I get it. You know that minor league camp hasn't started, right? And he's like, oh. And I go,
like I got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and I go, what should I do? He goes, I don't know, go to the beach.
So he said,
No way.
And so then earlier that morning, the Travis secretary, Bill Beck, Boomer had just given meal money, right? So I just got my meal money for the week, and I'm like feeling guilty, like, because I'm not going to be there. And I go, what do I do with the meal money? And Jim goes, I'd go to the track if I was. So I went to the track.
Did you really?
I won my horse or my dog. It was the dogs, not the ponies. The dog came in. I spent a couple days at the beach, worked out for a little bit. Yeah,
you're like, this big league life's great.
Yeah,
I don't have to throw.
It was awesome, man.
Go to the track.
Yeah, and then I went to AA to start the year, and next thing you know, 6 weeks later, I'm getting called up to the big leagues. Wow. It's crazy, man.
Isn't that crazy? From that conversation with John Bowles, where he's like, "Hey, listen, if you can't start throwing strikes and establishing a zone and throwing your curveball better or your slider better, you're out of here.
Yeah,
you're in the Florida State League.
Yep.
To the next year,
10 months later,
you're in the show
in the big leagues, facing the Pirates. You know, every time, and I remember they put me in the bullpen, and they got me up my first time 3 times, and I didn't go in the game. Every time I warmed up, I was terrified. The heart rate that was going, like,
and you're not a reliever, right?
No,
you're
we didn't have mental skills coaches who could, you know, at the time, minor leagues telling us how to breathe and slow things down. Hamster wheel was just going 1,000,000 miles a minute, you know.
Oh my God.
And I'm a reliever but I'm a starter. I've been starting my whole minor league career. Now all of a sudden I got to figure this out. So then 2 days later, they get me up a couple times again, and then the third time I come in against the Pirates. And this is a great story. So now I come in against the Pirates, right? 8th inning. First guy comes up, I believe, is Jermaine Allensworth. He grounds out to third base. Next guy, Jose Guillen. And I might have those in back opposite orders, but he grounds out to third base. And the crowd's going nuts, right? Like, I'm like, this is sweet, man. Right on, you know? Got all 800 people here at Pro Player just going nuts for me. And the next guy, Kevin Polkovich. I strike him out on a backup slider, and they boo.
What?
And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I hear it, but I'm like, and then I find out that on promotion night there at Pro Player Stadium, what they did was they picked an inning, a team, and an event. And if that happened, a section of this thing's split $100,000.
What?
Yes. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Turns out it was the 8th inning. The Pittsburgh Pirates will ground out to third base for all 3 outs.
Oh,
No way.
And I struck
Don't
him
you
out
wish you would have known
on a
that?
backup slider to a righty. Perfect pitch. I played Kevin Polkovich. He should have grounded that thing out instead of taking it for strike
trigger,
three.
Kevin. Pull
Yeah,
the
let's
trigger.
go. Swing it one
cow.
time.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
So
that's my
great.
first big league appearance.
Oh my God.
And then they're like, go back out there, and I go back out there. I left a couple runners on, and Manti came up, gave up a triple. I had a 27 ERA, and I called home, and my girlfriend's mom's like, you have the best ERA on the team.
Oh my God.
It's not how it works, Betty.
27.
Betty. Was her name really Betty? Her name was Betty.
That was her name, Betty.
Oh my God. That is so good. What about Debbie? Obviously, a couple years. So 99.
That was like when I finally.
That's when you come out there. Because
and you know what happened was 98. I really got Harvey Dortmund when I talked about mental skills.
Yeah,
coach.
that's what. Dude, Harvey was your guy?
Harvey was there with the Marlins.
Oh my gosh, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, so for anyone that doesn't know, Harvey was I tell people all the time. I say, hey, how'd you do it? You know, 'cause dude, I'd go to the showcase and like they name the names to come back, and I'm like, Sean Casey. Oh no, you're not on the list. I was like, what game? Don't we hit in day 2? Don't we hit? They're like, yeah, but you just ran a 7.560. You're out of here. I'm like, geez, are you shitting me? You know what I mean? So I wasn't the guy that like, oh man, this guy's gonna definitely be something someday. My dad at 16 years old bought 3 books. Art of Hitting 300 by Charlie Lau. The Science of Hitting by, or maybe I have them reversed. Science of Hitting by Ted Williams.
Yep.
And The Mental Game of Baseball by Harvey Dorfman and Carl Keel. For some reason, Demp, I wasn't a big reader, obviously, in high school. I fell in love with this book.
Yeah.
And I used to go during my free mods.
He's a big reader now, though, by the way.
Big reader.
Huge.
I saw videos where he's out in the middle of 9.
Big reader now.
Yeah,
Big
during the
reader
rain,
now.
that's what he does.
But yes, exactly. I'm glad you follow me. But back then I wasn't, right? And what's crazy is I fell in love with what Harvey was saying and Carl Keel was saying to those guys, and how to slow down, breathe or die. You know what I mean? Like living in the moment, process, not results, focus on the task. And I started to buy into that. Bro, I really believe that made me the player that I was.
No doubt.
But for you to have a guy like Harvey Dorfman in your organization at that time of your career, like, what did that mean?
It was like, honestly, the inside of me, right, wants to believe that I was going to be a big leaguer forever and that I was going to do those things. Like, that's what I think, right? But when I was looking and playing back things that were happening, did I get to the big leagues earlier because I got traded? Yes. But did that help me? Not necessarily, because I hadn't really grown in the minor leagues yet.
Right.
I made 6 AA starts, then I'm in the big leagues.
Wow.
And I was really like having a tough time. And I had a couple decent starts, because my stuff was good, but I still was struggling and I'm struggling and I'm kind of having a day. And to be able to go to the field every day, most days on home games, Harvey was there. He was there a lot.
Was he in uni?
He would he'd have the little pullover, the Marlins black pullover, the short pants on, like I don't know, I get a chance to play or something. I loved it, but I love that aspect too, because he really, it made you feel so comfortable. And I'll never forget this. I'm struggling. And he just, he could see it on my face, and he had me sit down after I threw a bullpen one day. And everybody was inside, and I'm sitting in pro player on the, in our home dugout there. And he goes, "Hey, you want to know something? You're supposed to lose every game you pitch this year." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "If you don't believe me, the day of your start every day, pick up the newspaper, and you're always going to be plus money every single time." And I was like, why? And I couldn't, why is this man telling me this? Right?
Yeah.
Thanks for the confidence.
Is this the mental coach?
Yeah, I've read your book. There's none of this is in your book, right? But what he saw was that I was putting so much pressure on myself to win games that I wasn't focused on the approach. And so then what he said afterwards, which was the most impactful, was he said, "So when you go out there, it doesn't fucking matter if you win or lose."
Right.
That's what he said. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. Just do the process, learn, keep your ears open, your eyes open, your mouth shut, and just learn as much as you can from every opportunity you get, and understand that you're going to fail. It doesn't matter. That's done with. All that matters is that pitch you're making and that next pitch you're making. What happened is gone, and what's going to come, we don't know. All you can control is this. And so from that moment forward, things just really started, even to the point where when I got sent down to AAA that year, it didn't bother me.
Right.
I wasn't devastated. It was like, it was all just part of the process. Just keep, and I went down to AAA and I pitched well. And then the next year I started in AAA for 5 starts. I pitched well. And then I got to the big leagues and I was in the big leagues the rest of my career. But that talk on the bench with Harvey and just having him walk me through all that. And then later on, reading his book about the ABCs of pitching, and just kind of going through those things. Kyle Hendricks keeps a copy of that book in his locker to this day. I personally think if you're a big league pitcher, no matter who you are, you're an idiot if you don't have a copy of that.
A big league pitcher. How about high school kids?
Anybody.
I tell high school kids all the time. How about Corbin Burns?
Yeah.
Corbin Burns in 2019, he's got a 580 ERA or whatever. He gets called up. He's a reliever, blah, blah, blah. Brian King gets a hold of him, who's a mental coach too, and they start going through, hey, what process do you have? What are you doing between starts? Are you going one pitch at a time? All that, right? So I read something the other day. It talks about Corbin Burns' routine, and he says, every morning I get up, I read the execution chapter in the mental ABCs of pitching by Harvey Dorfman.
That's it.
Every morning.
Yeah.
So you got one of the best pitchers in baseball, who in 2019 had the same arsenal.
Who's going to possibly win the Cy Young
Might win the Cy Young.
At some point.
He always was throwing that great card. He was 98,
Yep.
99. But his stats were terrible because he didn't know how to go one pitch at a time.
Yep.
Didn't know how to take that deep breath. Didn't know how to settle into the moment. Didn't know how to go the process, not results like you were doing.
Yep.
Right? Next thing you know, we're talking about 2021. Corbin Burns might be the Cy Young Award winner. And I loved it. I saw, they said, what's your routine? He said, every morning I read the mental ABCs of pitching, just like you said. And I tell my kids all the time, like, hey, at the end of the day, it's you versus you in that box. If you haven't learned how to think, if you haven't learned how to slow things down and live in the moment, this game will eat you up.
Yep,
it's
100%.
It's a killer of a game.
Well, because then we start worrying about things peripheral that don't matter, right? We worry about that play should have been made behind me at shortstop. Man, that really close pitch, the umpire squeezed me on. That should have been a strike. You start worrying about all these other things that the more you can just repeat the process and do it over and over, the more often than not, if you're talented and you have stuff and you can execute and you just repeat the process, you're going to have results because you're going to execute more. And what I mean by execute is, like, he would always say this about Maddox, because he worked with Maddox too, was, how did you do today? And he's like, the best compliment I ever got was when I asked guys that, when they told me, oh, I was 87 for 93. I threw 93 pitches. On 87 of them, I actually just trusted the process.
Wow.
I didn't get outside of my head, like, not, I went 7 innings. He'd always tell me, like, I don't care about that.
I love that when he was that.
Like, does it pay your bills? Sure, but the process will pay your bills a lot more.
Yes.
And like, it was a big difference maker for me. Crossing paths with him and reading that book and doing those things. Yeah, I mean, just huge to have a person like that.
Dude, I did not know that about Harvey Dorfman. I can't even believe you mentioned his name, but that makes total sense, because I was just about to ask you, when did it click mentally? And the fact to have Harvey Dorfman as a coach.
Yeah.
At such a young age. And
no offense, Rich Doobie, but he was more important than my pitching coach.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I mean, just from me, right? Like, physically, I could handle a lot of the things. I could work my tail off. I could do all that. I struggled mentally. I struggled with self-confidence when I was out there. And part of that was coming up so early in the big leagues. Like, I'm 21 years old. 3 years ago, I'm watching these guys on TV, and now I'm like sitting at an all-star game in the locker room with them. Like, stuff like that happened along early part of my career. I had a lot of self-doubt. Harvey helped me get over a lot of that.
I love how Harvey, I love how, I remember calling him one time, and I was raking, and then I went 0 for 12, but I had lined out like 11 times. But I was so, like, in my own dome.
Yeah.
I called him one night after the game. I was like, Harvey, I'm really struggling right now. I was like, well, what's going on? I'm 0 for my last 12. Take me through your at-bats. Rock to the second baseman. Rock to the center fielder. Check. He goes, don't call me. He's like, how he was so straight. It's like, totally. That's it. He's like, don't ever call me again if you've had 11 lineouts and 12 at-bats. Your process obviously is good. And then this is what he said to me. He goes, your job as a hitter is to hit the ball hard every time.
Yep.
He goes, whether you get a hit or not, that's irrelevant.
Yep.
The process is, are you taking a deep breath? Are you hunting the fastball? Are you looking middle away, reacting in? And then are you hitting the ball hard? He goes, at the end of the year, just like he said to you, at the end of the year, you're going to have some years that maybe they were hit at a couple guys. You hit 290. You're going to have some years where your process is good, same way. You hit 330. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Your results will be what they will be. But if you show up with the process for every pitch throughout the course of a season, I bet you your numbers will be pretty good.
Yeah, he said to me one time too, he said, would you much rather dart a fastball where you want it, exactly where you want it, and the guy bloop a ball in for a base hit and RBI? Or would you hang a slider and let him pop up? And I said, he goes, and if it's hang the slider and pop up, this is the last conversation.
That's what he said.
Because it was like that. Then you're going about it the wrong way.
Wrong way.
Yeah.
The other
So,
funny thing you guys all
Less-
consistently talk about, most of the guys I know who've played, is the complete opposite end of the spectrum when you guys are overthinking things. Some of the best stories any former baseball player talks about is when they get snapped out of it by a coach. You know, like, you can't throw your fastball, and they just say something absolutely ridiculous to you, like in, what is it, candlesticks are always good. That's a real thing that happens to you guys, right? You're on a mound, and you can't throw a strike, and your pitching coach comes out there and just says something absolutely ridiculous that has nothing to do with anything and walks away. Can you guys talk about that, both of you, for, like, how to get out of your own head when you're playing?
Can you remember the craziest conversation you had from a pitching coach or?
I can from a catcher. I don't know if I can share it on
Yeah.
here.
Oh, come on, you can share it, dude.
I know the story. That's kind of where I'm going. Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
I'll give you two.
You
I'll
always
give you
edit
two.
it out if it's real bad.
No. Well, I'm gonna try to put it as PG as I can here.
PG-13.
Yeah. There's been a couple. Mike Redmond was always good. I think it comes from first of all, you have, in order to do that, Chinch, you have to have, there's got to be trust and there's got to be a relationship, right? Because if it comes from somebody who I don't trust, then it just kind of is just going to fly over your head, or it's going to go right through you. You know, like Mike Redmond would be great. Like, he'd be stressing out, like, I can't throw strikes, everything's going, and he'd just be like, whoa, dude. I actually just came on here to talk about whether you wanted Bud Heavy or Bud Light after that. Boom. There it is. It snaps, right? It's gone. It's like, wait, what was I stressing about? I think I might go Bud Heavy. Yeah, But this is a good one, man. And this is the God's honest truth. So 2010, I start out the season as bad as you can start a season. I mean, my month of April, you could probably pull the numbers up. If you look at my month of April in 2010, I think I was 1-3 with a 9.5 ERA in a month. Okay. And I just don't get out of the first inning in Arizona, end of April. And the reason I know this, that the numbers were so bad, because where my head started going was the next morning I was there, and you have that to-go breakfast on getaway day, and sometimes then you got all the commodes, or it's full house in the shitter, everybody's in there. So I'm in there and I'm reading the newspaper, and I'm looking at the newspaper, and the qualifiers bottom of the thing, it's me. I'm the last guy,
Oh my God.
I'm a full page away from the league leader in ERA, And so I needed to kind of just like this. I was trying to get out of it. I couldn't snap out of this. And now we go to LA, and I'm pitching. It's my birthday, May 3rd. I'm starting against the Dodgers, Dodger Stadium. My brother Travis is down. I go stay with Ted Lilly at his place out in Sherwood, and we're gonna go play the par 3 course before the day of the start. I just need to figure out something to get out of it, right? Perfect. I got a fresh start. Everything's good. Here comes the game. Start the game. Rafael Furcal comes up. 4 pitches, walk. Next hitter, 4 pitches, walk.
God, no way.
So now I've walked 8 guys, or 2 guys and 8 pitches. And I'm just like, this is happening. Here comes Soto. Gio comes out to the mound, right? And I'm just like, I don't even want him there. I am completely lost. Like, this might be the time in my career where it's time to hang him up, Like, I'm getting older, like, I don't know what's going on. I can't get anybody out. And here comes Soto. And I'm thinking he's going to talk about the signs or whatever. And he goes, hey, you ever get your wife to have like a multiple orgasms? And I'm like, what? What? Dodger Stadium, man. I got to get out of this.
Oh my God.
And he goes, yeah, me neither. Hey, man, first sign after last pitch. Let's go. And then he just goes back behind home plate, dude. I get a double play ball. I get out of the inning. I get a double play ball, Andre Ethier. I get Matt Kemp to fly out, or vice versa, or something like that. And I get out. I go 7 innings, give up 1 run, win the game, and I have an unbelievable rest of the year.
Oh my God,
it didn't take. This
ingenious.
is what we got to do to bear down.
Yeah.
And get this done.
Walk it in.
He's like, I got to go so far off the rails here. I got to go so he needs somewhere else. He doesn't need to be at Dodger Stadium right now.
Oh my God, that is so great.
And it was just so great. He recognized it in the moment, and it just shows you, like, sometimes it's not. We get so caught up in it all. It's just about being in the right headspace, and he put me in the right headspace.
That is so great, man.
I just love how he said, by the way, he just like, yeah, me neither. And then just walked back. I didn't even answer the question.
Like, head scratching. What just happened there? Yeah. Oh my God, it's so great, so great. So your time in Florida goes, man. I loved those teams because there were some unbelievable players, man. Like just up and down. Like we talked about D. Lee and Luis Castillo and Gonzalez and Mikey Lowell, Cliff.
Yeah.
Juan Pierre. Was Juan Pierre when you were there?
Juan Pierre was there for a little bit. He came up. We had like Preston Wilson.
Yeah, Mike Redmond behind the
dish. And then the staff. And, we were really lucky because we had Jim Leyland as a manager our first year.
Yeah. Really?
Yes.
Because he taught you guys how to be professionals.
Yeah, he let us know that we weren't big leaguers.
This is 98 or 98 or 99?
That's 98.
That was 98. That was 1998.
Yeah.
Because when you come up like that and you have all of these guys, they traded away all the veteran influence.
Right.
We all thought we were big leaguers.
Yeah. Just because you're there.
Yeah, we're there, man. We're getting the meal money from the traveling secretary. Yeah. We're staying in the nice Four Seasons. Like actually with the Marlins, we're staying like the Red Lion, but but we're big leaguers, Like,
well, that's better than the Reds in 1998. We were taking commercial flights.
Yeah.
I'm like, excuse me, ma'am. Mark Scott's like, honey, commercial flights. I remember like squeezing her, this old lady sitting there. I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, can you move over? I'm in 21B. I'm in the middle seat. She's like, oh, hey, honey, are you guys a ball club? I was like, we're the Cincinnati Reds, man. We're the Major Baseball Cincinnati Reds. We're not like the freaking we're not like the high school team from freaking down the street.
Instead of a Greyhound, you had a school bus picking you up.
It's unbelievable, dude. So at least you guys were staying at Red Line, and we were freaking flying Delta commercial flights with freaking.
Hey guys, 5:30 a.m. Okay, don't miss the pickup time.
My God, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
But yeah, we we were all trying to find our way.
Yeah,
and this is why I have so much respect for him is we're playing in Houston, and like I said, this poor guy wins a World Series and now he's got to watch this, right? And he did, he just watched us go about our business. He coached, he did his stuff, he had his conversations with people, he did those things, he let his coaches do his thing. But like it could have been very easy on a daily basis to yell at us about something.
Yeah, right.
We were always messing up something. Whether that was just like joking around, whether that was this thing. So speaking of joking around, so we're in the Astrodome. This is the beginning of August. We're losing 16-4. And Eric Ludwig tells a joke on the bench, and we all laugh, and I laugh hard, And there's Leland down at the bottom of the dugout, and sitting down there, and the Astrodome cutting like how Riverfront was. You're on field level.
Yeah.
And he's just puffing on his schmag, and he's got it tucked in his hand right here. And if you imagine that we're down there and he just like takes this big giant pull off his cigarette and he looks at us as we're laughing and he stands up and he just throws it on the ground hard and he squashes it out. And I just remembered that,
oh my God.
I had that same look, dude.
Oh my God.
I'm like, boys, we're in trouble. Like you could kind of feel it coming,
Yeah.
You could feel him getting more and more frustrated. And so the game ends. We lose 20-4, and they had those cafeteria doors at the Astrodome,
Yeah, I remember.
And he wore spikes, I guess, because if we were bad enough, he was just going to put himself in the game. I don't really know what he was doing. And all of a sudden, you just hear this like, and poof, boom, and here he comes. If I ever see another one of you pitchers laughing when we're getting our asses kicked, I'll have you out of here so fast your head will spin. You think I'm messing around? You try me. Guys coming from A-ball with your 5 ERAs thinking you're big leaguers. You guys stink. Every single one of you stink with the exception of a few of you. And you know who you are, and I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about all you guys coming from A-ball and AA. Look at me paying my clubhouse dues, driving around in my fancy Lexus, wearing my fancy Brooks Brothers suit thinking you're a big leaguer. You ain't a pimple on a big leaguer's ass. You suck. You suck. Every one of you stink. And then he'd stop, right? He'd get all really sentimental with us. Like, guys, listen. Do I wish I could be telling you something different? You're darn right. I'll lose. I'll go 0-162 with you, but not like that. Not laughing when we're getting our asses kicked. You're gonna learn to respect this game, And he just goes off, right? He'd leave. So then he leaves, right? And I'm like, and now I'm like, well, he's talking to me. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you're in your room, like, am I in this conversation? No, I am part of the problem, So then I'm like,
pitchers,
and I'm like, I'm sitting there next to Jay Powell, and I go to get up, and Jay was on the World Series team with him, right? And I go to get up, and as I go to stand up, Jay's like, sit back down. He's coming, man. He's coming back. I go, what do you mean he's coming? And another thing, you hear he comes through the doors again, right? Guys think you're big leaguers. You think you're big leaguers. Throwing that stuff out there on the field. You think that's a big league ball player. Well, I got news for you, boys. And trust me, guys, I got to tell you this, guys. It hurts me more to tell you than it hurts for you to hear. You guys stink. Y'all stink. So he leaves, right? 5 times he did
He comes back.
And it's getting shorter a couple times. Like sometimes he'd leave and you hear him come right back, And this is the best ever, dude. He goes, I'm going to my office, and I'm going to have a whiskey, and I'm going to have a stogie. And if I come out in this locker room, and there's anybody in here, I'm calling the cops and I'm having you arrested for impersonating a Major League Baseball player. Dude, I think half the team didn't shower. Dude, just were like, I'll get changed back at the hotel.
Oh my God, it's so great. Oh my God.
It was unbelievable.
God, so
but he
great.
taught us. And to his credit, and I told him this, man, at the World Series in 2016, I told him that story. Mm-hmm. Just to remind him and LaRussa. And I said, but we thank you because you went down that list, right? All of those guys played 10 plus years in the big leagues. Wow. We all had careers, not jobs. We all had careers in the big leagues. We're all still in baseball. Half those guys work at MLB Network. Half those guys, are working for other teams. They're in the game. And it's because of him. I really believe that moment right there just put us all in check to be like, recognize who you are and what you're doing. And how can I be better? And I love him to death because of that, man. That was a big moment.
For me, too, I still think he's one of the greatest managers I've ever had, one of the greatest managers to ever play the game. Hopefully Cooperstown recognizes that here soon. But I can only imagine to have a young team like you guys had and have Jim Leyland, who had won the World Series, who had won 3 divisions with the Pirates, for you guys to have that at your first manager because, hey, man, you don't know who you're going to get. He's your first man. To get a guy like Leyland to have that influence on you guys, that's really, really cool.
Oh, dude, no doubt. Like,
really
just
cool.
so fortunate, so lucky. Listen, you can work hard,
right?
But you need some things to go your way.
You need some guidance, too.
And having him there for just the 1 year meant the world to all of those guys because it really did just kind of let us all know a little bit.
So now,
go
ahead, Case. Sorry.
Go ahead, James. Go ahead, bro.
Well, I was just going to kind of transition because now you're a wily veteran at 25 years old and you wind up on a baseball team with this guy, right? Isn't that?
That's where I was going.
How was that like?
Traded again.
Yeah, traded to the Reds.
Yeah, for Juan Encarnacion, Wilton Carrero, and and Ryan Snare.
Wow.
He was a minor league pitcher.
Okay.
I don't know if he made it to the big leagues, but
was it legit?
Yeah. And then Juan ended up being the right fielder for the Marlins World Series team, so it worked out well for them. But yeah, I get to the team with this guy, right? So now I get traded, and I already knew a lot of these guys, because just playing against them, playing against the Reds, and you go out to have a couple beers after the game, and you bump into guys out or whatever it is, and I get over there, and after 2002, we're still at the old ballpark, and they had this tradition when you won.
Oh, God, I forgot about this.
They played "Celebrate" by Kool in the Game. Celebration. Celebrate good times. And so the game gets done, right? Everybody's having fun. The song's playing. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, right on. This is awesome, man. I love this energy. This is good. And here comes Case, right? Doing this dance, right? I can feel it in my arms. I can't move. He's like, I can feel it in my legs. I can't walk. And he's doing this whole celebration dance. And I was just like, I already knew he was the greatest, And then I'm just watching this, and I'm just like, this guy is a leader. Look at this. These guys are having so much fun. It didn't work out for us.
It didn't work out. We lost 95 games.
Oh, my God.
But it was unbelievable.
But it was such a great group of guys, man. And you guys were so welcoming to me and made me feel so good there.
You fit you as a person and as a teammate fit so well into the guys that we had here. And, Dunner and Kernsey and Griff and Lark and
Booney
and
Gravy.
Dimitri, Gravy. I mean, there was so many good dudes on those teams, and God, you fit right in. Although I do have one bone to pick with you, that I remember the one time, as a hairy human being, you're always looking for the other hairy human being. So you're like, oh, there you got, Adam Dunn, you got Dempster, the new guy, he's freaking hairy too. This is interesting, So I remember the one day I come in the clubhouse, and you came up to me, bro, like it was like you found a new toy. You're like, Case, dude. And I looked at your body. You took your shirt off. I was like, oh my God, Demp looks like freaking he's going to go WWE wrestling. This guy's Jack Diesel. Doesn't have a freaking hair on his body. And I was like, Demp, what's going on? Like, go Case. You come over and be like, bro. He's like, you got to go to this electrolysis place I just went to. It's unbelievable. This lady's unbelievable. He goes, it's right by our apartment. You know, you got 6 sessions, bro. 6 sessions, $1,500. Boom, you're gonna look like this. And I was like, that's unbelievable. Because I was starting to have the back hair creeping up, like out of the shirt. You know, like your dad has. You're like, oh, what's going on with that back hair? My dad has. It's like creeping up. It's like a neck beard. You're like, what the hell's that? You know. So I'm like, all right, I'm at this time in my life. I gotta start cleaning up a little bit. I'm 28, 29 years old, but look at Demp, man. He's so smooth and good looking with his body. So you give me the girl's number. Boom, I go down the next day. I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know, I'm Sean Casey. You know, my buddy Ryan Dempster did a great job with him. He's, you know, Jack Diesel, real smooth, no hair on his body. Can you do that to me? She's like, yeah, no problem. 6 treatments, $1,500. I'm like, that's great. So that first day, you know, there's 2 ladies, you know, take your shirt off. I'm like, well, what do you want? I was like, you know what? I'm starting to get some arm hair right here. If you could just zap a little bit of that and get rid of that. And like the upper back would be great too. You know, just like you did to Dempster. She's like, no problem. So she starts, and you're like, all right. It kind of hurts. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, this isn't as awesome as Demp, but just Demp came to me.
I had a higher threshold for pain, you know. This Case didn't have any tattoos. I had quite a few.
Exactly. It's like, it's the greatest thing ever. So she starts zapping me, and I'm like, hey, are you like hitting every follicle? Is this how long is it gonna take? He's like, about an hour. You know, I'm like, it feels like you like hit a hornet's nest or something. Like, God damn, zap, 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 zap. So she, gets me, but I come in that day. I'm like, look, Demp. Look at this, bro. It's freaking, I haven't seen my abs in freaking ages. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. At least I got 2 at the top. Look at the 2 at the top. Freaking no hair.
I remember you were so excited.
I was so excited, right? So, boom, a couple weeks go by. Dempy goes back a couple months. You know, you see the hair coming back on Demp. Bambi comes back. He's smooth as a baby. Next thing you know, I'm like, I got to get my next one, too. So I remember going to Lonnie Soloff, and I was like, hey, you got any pain pills? He's like, what's going on? Your shoulder bother you? I was like, no, I'm going for my second treatment of electrolysis. This shit hurts. I was like, you got any Percocet or anything like that? I'd never taken a pain pill in my life. But I was like, I need something to take away the pain. So anyway, I go there, zap, zap, zap to get me. And I remember thinking I'd come back. You're like, Case, how'd it go? I was like, good. It went good. But I remember I was losing.
His energy level each time went down, right? Like excitement to like, okay, I get it. To like, I don't really know about this.
Yeah,
man.
I was like, oh, no, this is good. I was like, 2 treatments, that's good. Like, that's going to get me over the hump. You know, I'm going to get to where I need to be. And like, I'll be less hairy, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. So anyway, Lonnie Soloff was the other guy too. Remember the trainer? We're like, Lonnie, we'll pay for you to go because you're the trainer. You can't afford $1,500. You got so anyway. A couple years later, I take a look at my body one day in the mirror. I was like, just getting out of the shower, rub myself off. I'm like, dear God, I've never seen this hair. This hair on my body. It's freaking connecting my arm. It's like one big beard on my body. I'm like, I've never been this hairy in my life. I look like Chewbacca. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, is Han Solo in the other room? What the hell's going on here? You got to kid me. So I remember calling this lady. I'm like, hey, something's not right here. I'm like, hey, a couple years ago, Demp's now with the Cubs, but, Ryan Dempster, introduced me to give me 6 treatments. I gave you $1,500, looking to get a little less hairy because, things are going the wrong way. And I'm hairier than I've ever been. I got hair on my arms that I didn't used to have. She's like, well, what happened? I go, I went to 2 how many treatments did you do? I got 2 treatments. She goes, oh, no. She's like, you need to do all 6. She's like, the first 2 treatments at the hair activation stage. She's like,
you did was you just promoted the hair growth.
Dude, I promoted. She goes, we activate every follicle in your body, and then on 4 it starts to grow out, and on 6 it's gone forever. So the first 2 just activate every follicle in your body. I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, I paid you $1,500 to get freaking hairy. I'm gonna kill Dempster. He's in Chicago now. I want to punch him in the face.
So when people are wondering what we do after the game, this is the kind of stuff that we're doing.
That was the most detailed story we've told in 22 episodes, by the way, and it was unbelievable. I can't even breathe right now. It was unbelievable.
So I'm hairy because of this guy. Like this.
You're welcome.
You never went back.
Yeah. 18 years ago, I got hairy.
Winter time, it gets chilly. Now you got a full sweater. You're good.
Yeah. I'm here in Pittsburgh. I go outside. I go take walks and like freaking
no shirt on.
No shirt on. I'm just like, isn't this how God intended it? It's just where the freaking caribou. I'm going to go hunting with my hands. Freaking look how hairy I am. Unbelievable.
Oh, boy.
Dude, one other unbelievable story with Demp when he was with the Reds. Can you tell us the story? So Gapper is Gapper is the mascot for the Reds. Full. He's got this big furry head.
Yeah.
Can you tell us your Gapper story? Because this is great.
Yeah. So I was leaving the locker room in Cincinnati at the new ballpark there at Great American Small Park, and so I'm walking out.
Great American Small Park.
As you walk out, you can bang a left down the dugout in the cage area, and then the dugout, or there's a right entrance to the, and then straight across is like a auxiliary locker room, and the door was open, and I see Gapper's head sitting there, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. Let me go say hi to Gapper. And I walk in, and there's Gapper's full uni, but no Gapper. And so I'm like,
Are you on the DL at the time?
No. It's actually, it was July 4th.
Oh my God.
How about that too at that? And so a light bulb goes off in my head, I'm like, here we go. So I just throw it all on and I just leave, and then I just go out to the stands, and how hard it is, by the way, to see what that thing. You got to look up, because otherwise Gapper's looking at the ground. So you have to look up. Well, you don't realize, by the way, how much those guys hustled during the game. Because they're in on it. Everybody, all the kids want a picture, and I'm knocking over 4-year-olds all over the place because I can't see them. And then I'm on top of the dugout and I'm dancing, and I'm sitting there and I'm kind of messing with a couple of the guys. Case is out playing first base, and I'm just sitting there like I'm the chicken, like this is the minor leagues, and that's okay with the umpires, it's not supposed to be on top of the dugout. So then but then what happened was I had left tickets for 4 of my buddies who were in town, and they were kind of not in the Founders Club behind, but the section up, but right behind home plate. So I'm like, I'm going to go find these guys, and I'm going to go take a picture with them and mess with them, And so now at this point, now they know it's me, the person that's, the handler of Gapper knows it's me and all this kind of stuff. And so they're helping me out, and I'm playing the part. And now I get behind home plate, and I'm up in the stands, and I'm looking, but I'm looking, trying to find these guys. And all of a sudden I hear, hey, let's get a picture with Gapper. And I'm like, there they are. Oh my God. It was my buddy saying, let's get a picture with Gapper. So Shawnee's saying this. So now I go over there, right? And they're like, Gapper, what's up? And I'm high-fiving them. I'm messing their hair up. I'm pouring their popcorn out on them, And then I'm sitting there we're taking pictures. I'm sliding my hand down. I'm putting it on his butt, I'm just and he's like, hey, Gapper, a little easy, okay? I don't know you that well, and we're just having this blast. I take a picture, and they're high-fiving, and I'm doing all this stuff. Then I make it all the way back to the clubhouse, right? So now I've been in this thing for 5 innings.
Oh, just
it's unbelievable. It's 100 degrees out.
God.
I've 3 times I've almost thrown up inside of this thing. I'm just holding them back. And I walk into the players' lounge, and Kent Merker and Gabe White had already pitched that game, and they're both having cigarettes. And they're sitting there on the couch just like this. And I walk in, and you just see them look like, why is Gapper in our player lounge right now? And I just kind of take the head, and I'm just I'm the masked singer, and I just pull it off, and I'm like, man, it is hot out there. And they're just dude, how long you been in that? And I'm since the second. Top of the 8th. I've been out here. So then on the car ride home afterwards, this is the best that I'm leaving. I'm driving up to Montgomery, where my house is, with my buddies, and my one buddy's sitting there, and I'm like, how was the game, right? And I'm like, they're like, good. And I'm like, what'd you guys think of Gapper? And they go, your ass. And they all go, I knew you had to mess with us. I told you had to mess with us. And they're all going, and I go, no, that was actually me.
Oh my
and from the
God.
back, my buddy goes, I win.
No way.
Yeah.
He's like, that was Demp.
That was Demp. He was the one guy who said, no, that's Ryan. That's Ryan.
That's so great.
Things you get to do, man. You get to be the mascot for a day. I'll take that.
That's sick.
So you go to the Cubs from the Reds because they made a great decision by getting rid of you. That worked out great for the Reds. Because
if you look at my numbers, it wasn't that bad.
Well, you know what? They got to look forward and say this guy has a track record and he's coming off an injury. He's probably going to be legit when he goes to the Cubs and be one of their best closers ever, and go back to the All-Star game. So that was a good move by the Reds. But worked out well. Anyway, you went to the Cubs as a reliever, right?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. So how did that work out? The evolution of Ryan Dempster, the closer now.
Yeah. So what happened was, I had my Tommy John surgery. I signed with the Cubs on a 1-year deal with a team option. So they paid me the league minimum. I get to rehab with the team the whole time. And then they had an option if I was healthy. And so I was healthy. I was coming back from my Tommy John. It was like July. I'd been making – I almost made the Midwest League All-Star team. I'd made so many starts for the Lansing Lugnuts, And true story, Jim Henry actually made a fake press release saying that I did make the Midwest League All-Star team. Which is funny.
That's funny.
But so then now we had Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood, Carlos Zambrano, Matt Clement, and Greg Maddux.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Studs. Like our rotation was killing it.
Yeah.
So there was really no place for me, but I was healthy. So I called Jim and Dusty and I said, why don't I just pitch out of relief? And they were both like, you would do that? Because coming off Tommy John and I was like, yeah, like I feel great. So I went to Iowa. I had a couple relief appearances, felt good. Went to the bullpen. Finished the year in the bullpen in 04. 05 comes, they put me back in the starting rotation. And I made 6 starts. I had like kind of mixed, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, kind of like as you would expect coming off Tommy John. And then we were struggling in the closer's role. Like LaTroy was struggling. Joe Borowski wasn't in there anymore. And so they said, hey, would you go down and close? So I said, sure. Yeah, whatever you need to do to help the team. And it was just like a magical year of closing. I went 33 of 35.
Yeah, I remember
the only
that.
2 saves I blew, I won the game. So like literally for the rest of the season, I did not pitch at a loss.
Wow.
It was nuts. In September, I think I had 13 scoreless innings in September. It was just like, and then ended up getting a 3-year deal to be the closer. And, Jim Henry was just awesome. Like took care of me, as far as like, escalators in the contract if I went back to starting and all these kind of things. And they were just behind it. And then 06 was a little bit tough. 07 was a good year again. Lou's first year managing.
Mm-hmm.
And then got to this was great too. So 2007, I pitched in Shea Stadium, and I actually did pretty good. I think it was 28 for 31 and saves, 2 blown saves, both against the Mets. One of them there. And so I pitch against the Mets. I blow the save, and Lou calls me up on the plane. So I walk down. I sit down. I said, "What's up, Skip?" He says, "Hey, son, you like pitching, huh?" And I was like, "Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you see me hit, but it's not very pretty." He goes, "No, that's not what I mean, man. I mean, like you don't, you're not a thrower. You like to pitch." I was like, "Yeah. I've been a starter my whole life. the clothing thing is kind of new. Just last 2 years." And he's like, "Tell you what, need a closer this weekend, and I'm going to put you back on the rotation." So I was like, "Sweet, So I closed that weekend against the White Sox.
So you wanted to go back in the
Oh
rotation?
yeah, I didn't love closing.
Yeah.
Being a closer for the Cubs, especially not winning in 100 years, that's like being a kicker for the Dallas Cowboys. You do like 40 field goals in a row, but you miss one, they want a new kicker.
Yeah.
It's like see,
This guy
sucks. I know he's booted 50 over 60 yards, but he missed the game winner, so he need a new one. So that's kind of how it felt. So I just didn't really enjoy it a whole lot, and plus I love starting.
And really quick, before we go to your start, can you talk about what was the difference of your mentality as a closer? Was it a 2-pitch mix? Was it fastball slider? Did you use your changeup at all, or? I did, but that was the best piece of advice I got from Trevor Hoffman. I just I knew him, so I kind of picked his brain. Yeah.
About closing, and he was with the Brewers, and I just said what some things I could do. He said just get 2 pitches going. Don't worry about getting 3 pitches. You're a closer. You need 2. If you get to 3, cool. But like, make sure you get your fastball command down and get 1 of your 2 off-speed pitches working. So that was like the biggest thing, because you might not have a split, or you might not have a slider. You might have to go a different kind of route. So just having that mentality was the biggest difference.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just knowing that.
That's a good guy to pick his brain.
Yeah, and he said, and run 20 minutes every day when you get here. And so I did that too. Yeah, that was like he would do that. You'd always see him early on running around the infield. He'd always do all
just to get your legs under you?
Legs and flush everything out of your arm. Get yourself nice and loose for the day.
Wow.
He's like, if you're tired, you got to pitch that night. Well, I got to pitch 9 hours from now.
Right.
Right. I'm a professional athlete. I think I should be able to 20-minute jog.
20-minute jog, exactly.
And so then, Lou says I'm going to close. And so then I finished, and I'm all pumped, right? Sunday hits. We just played the White Sox, won the game. I'm like, right on. Hey, Lou wants to see. I'm like, yeah, I bet he does. I'm going to see what my plan is going forward here. And as I walk in, I see Jim Henry and Randy Bush, who's the assistant general manager. I'm like, oh boy. You know when you just know, and like they weren't smiling.
Right.
And Lou just goes, you know what, son? I got a little ahead of myself. I realized that if I put you in the starting rotation, we have nobody to close. So,
Oh my God.
He goes, but I tell you what, I promise you I'll put you in start next year. You come to spring training as a starter. So then I close out the rest of the year. And then next year he gave me a shot at the starting rotation. And
you go to the All-Star game,
I had
right?
the best year of my career, man. I worked my heart. I worked so hard that off season that I part of me has guilt that I didn't work that hard the rest of the years of my career. Like I worked hard, but that off season it was because I knew going back to starting to go from 3 straight years of less than 100 innings to wanting to throw 200 innings, I needed my leg and my body as strong as possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you finish up you go a few more years with the Cubs. Obviously you spent most of your career with the Cubs, and that it's obviously you live in Chicago now, work for Marquee Network. What was obviously an unbelievable time period. I can only imagine Wrigley Field being your. What was that like playing? What was that like playing in front of those fans as the closer, the starter, a fan favorite? What was that like?
Yeah, it's really just a unique, special place. It's amazing, right? Because it's like nowhere else in the league. Not even Fenway is like that because you have 4 streets that are lined with bars, restaurants. Yeah. It's like this. It's like a Monopoly board.
Right.
Which the Ricketts are winning Monopoly. They own like Boardwalk and Park Place as well as Baltic and Iranian too. So, and then free parking.
Yeah. Every railroad.
Yeah. So yes, but it's just this like unique, special place, and I always lived like pretty much walking distance to the field.
Right.
So a lot of times, like 90% of the games, I was either walking or riding my bike to.
Yeah.
So you just got this real sense of community. Stopping by somebody's front stoop while they're playing a game of cornhole and being like, hey man, have a cold beer with them, or stopping over at Bernie's after a game, going to these different places. And so I did get to really be a part of the community. I am a part of the community around there, and it's been a lot of fun. Like at first, you go to the Starbucks and then you leave, and the people I knew that worked at Starbucks, they'd laugh, right? Because people would be like, is that Ryan Dempster coming? Like, yeah, he's like in here every day. He gets a venti iced coffee, so you do get to just be a part of it all, and it becomes your neighborhood, and it's so unique and so special. And they're amazing fans, like they show up, win or lose, they it's an experience. It's not just a baseball game, it really is an experience to go to it. And those bleachers, that was the first thing I did when I retired, was went back and went to a game and sat in the bleachers.
So cool.
I wanted to do it in uniform as a player. I just I was so close so many times.
I can see you being the one.
I did go up to a suite during a game in my uniform because Kenny Chesney was up in the suite, and I was like, I'm going to go surprise him. Yeah. He returned the favor by letting me come out and sing with him at Soldier Field. But, just that it's so awesome. When the ivy comes in, from May 15th till September 15th at Wrigley Field with the ivy on the wall and all that. And it's incredible.
As a visiting player all those years, I was like, this is unbelievable. I can't imagine playing 81 games here in front of these fans and how awesome they are.
As a visiting player, by the way, this story, right? Coming into Wrigley. So I'm with the Cubs. This is 2004, and we got 3 games. We're like a game out of the wild card. We got 3 games with the Reds, 3 games with the Braves, right? 4 games with the Reds, 7 games, 4 games with the Reds, 3 games with the Braves. Yep. And these guys stink, right? Like the Reds just stink. And all we got to do is we just had this terrible series in New York. Let's just get over it. Let's get going. So we lose 3 of 4 to the Reds to basically eliminate us. We had to sweep the Reds, and who we were chasing had to win or lose all 3. So we weren't officially eliminated, but they eliminated us. Yeah, we were eliminated.
So that was our World Series.
Yeah, that was, and they were just like over there, like they had won the World. I'm surprised you guys didn't spray champagne.
I think we might have been spraying beers on the bus.
So now the bus leaves, right, and the bus is going down Addison. And there's this bar Guthrie's that's like just off of Addison, just as you kind of get going, packed with Cubs fans. Right. This knucklehead thinks it's a good idea to get off the bus, have the bus driver pull over, by the way. Oh, God. Because that's not hey, bring attention
we were in traffic, bro. We were in traffic. We were 5 o'clock traffic on a Thursday. Snail pace.
And Case walks in, and I heard the story from my people other than you.
Did you really?
And Case walks into Guthrie's, Chicago Cubs staple bar. Everybody in there drowning their sorrows. Gets about 10 feet in the bar. He says, "Hey, Cubs fans, wait till next year. You guys can suck it. And he's going bolting out of there because people start chasing him to the point where he's like, you got to close it. He's like jumping into the bus.
Like, open the door. Yeah. I said, hey, Cub fans. And like the record stopped. Everyone looks at me. Guys are crushing some beers, wings. I'm like, I'm full suit, you know. I'm like, Cincinnati Reds just kicked your ass. Like they say in Chicago. Better luck next season. And then I thought it was funny until the freaking couple of Cub fans have probably been crushing pops all day long. We're like, kill him. We're like, sweet Jesus. And just freaking start running. Dive onto the bus. Freaking Cub fans come out. They start pounding on the bus. The whole, like, Dunner, Griffey, Larkin, like, Ryan Frill, all these, Jason Leroux, we're all on the bus, like, and they're like, come on out here. Was that Sean Casey? They're like, have him come take a picture. I'm like, I'm not coming out there for a picture. I'm getting the hell out of here. What do you, no chance.
You're a legend, and they know about it. Everybody knows
so you
about
heard that?
I've heard that story, yeah.
Wow.
I heard it from the guy at Guthrie's who told me about it. I've heard that story.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Well, that's Cubs fans. See the passion.
Yeah, the passion.
Oh,
my God. Yeah, they were pissed.
Yeah, there was a lot, you know. I mean, every team has a bad decade.
Yeah.
You just happen to have a bad century, you know.
So you leave Chicago, go to Texas for a blip, but then you end up in Boston in 2013, and you win the World Championship. And obviously, you know, 16 years in the big leagues. I played 12. I got to the World Series, lost with Leyland, but still one of my greatest memories ever in 6. But to win it, like, what did that mean to you? And I know for you, right, you were thinking about this might be your last year.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. You know, I was going through a divorce and time away from my kids. It was a lot, and just seeing how the season was going. I remember sitting at the airport in Oakland at the All-Star break, getting ready to head out for the All-Star break. Me and Kelly were there with Matt Thornton, who came over from the White Sox. And we kind of talked about it. And he looked at me and he's like, "You really going to retire?" And I said, "Yeah." Like I was dealing with neck issues.
Right.
You know, there was like physical stuff going on, and it was just like, I'm going to continue to have to grind through all this. Probably take another cortisone shot in there or two, and just there was just a lot. And then on top of it, to be away from my family. And I was like, "Yeah." I said to him flat out, I said, "Well, we're winning the World Series, right. So what better way to like go home? Like that'll be a good way to cap it all off." And I just remember he's like, "We really are, aren't we?" Because we talked about it openly so much. I'd been around teams that are confident.
Right.
We willed it into existence. Like it was a combination of things, right? Like we talked that way, like Johnny Gomes at the beginning of spring training, right?
Right.
How you doing today, Johnny? I'll never forget it. Right out in front of the doors that go to the training room. Another day closer to the parade, Ryan.
Really?
And I was like, "That's where we're going." And he's like, "Yep." And I was like, "All right." Jake Peavy gets traded over with Matt Thornton. Peavy walks in the locker room. Hasn't been in the locker room for 10 seconds. "Pick out your duck boat yet?" And he's like, "What?" You know, I think Johnny said that. And then Pedroia's like, "Your duck boat for the parade." Cool. And then he sits down next to me at my locker, right? Because we were next to each other. He's like, "Hey, Demp, they serious, man?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're dead serious, dude." You know? And it was like, and which by the way, PV ended up later buying his duck boat from the parade. Right. Yeah, and then on top of it, you know, we had this tragic, horrible moment in Boston on April 15th. It was devastating, right? The bombings during the marathon. I started that day against Tampa Bay. It was I pitched that day. And I just remember getting into we didn't know anything yet. You know, Twitter was just kind of getting going. And we got on the bus, and we always had that police escort that takes us all the bike cops take us to the airport.
Yep.
And all of a sudden we were just sitting at a light, and we'd heard about this bombing, but nobody knew the magnitude. We didn't know if it was a bomb inside of nobody knew what it was. We didn't have any visuals. There was no news outlet for us to tell suspected other bombers. Kelly's calling me going, "What do I do?" I said, "You get on a plane and get out of here because we're getting out of here." Yeah. And all these cops just left. Wow. Gone. We got to the airplane, and I've never in my big league career to this day, promise you nobody's gotten on a plane faster. It was like they were just chucking our bags because we didn't know what was going on.
Wow.
And so then we went to Cleveland. We all went to a big team dinner that night. We played well in Cleveland. I think we swept the Indians, and we came home. They canceled that game, and then we played the next day. They canceled the Friday game. We played the next day, and then Big Papi comes out there.
Yeah.
But leading up to Big Papi, to me, and another thing that Johnny said was, in our locker room that day, you know, they caught the guy on Friday night, and you had, you know, the governor, the mayor, the head of the Secret Service, the head of the CIA, countless amounts of police officers, first responders, firefighters, Navy SEALs, like special forces, all of these people were in our locker room, right? Like it was like after a World Series celebration.
Yeah.
And I remember Johnny we were looking at each other, and he's like, "How do we lose? We can't. Look at when you have this much support around you and this many people around you that have your back. It's impossible. We can't lose. We got too many people in our corner." And so the rest of it was like, we knew we were good and we talked about being good, but we had such an amazing, unbelievable support system. And in turn, we gave that to them. It was like just this, it was this symbiotic, beautiful relationship between a city and its fans, its first responders, its authorities, and the players. And it was like, we were winning for them. They were cheering us. At times we were out, they lifted us up. It was amazing, man. Wow. And then just the whole journey along the way, the Nava home run. Yeah. And it was like seeing Big Poppy's speech, and he goes out there and drops that, not knowing really what he was going to say, you know. And anytime you give David a microphone, you're like, oh shit.
This is going to be rated R.
And it was like, and it was so passionate and real and raw and from the heart, genuinely like unprepared. And it was as real a moment as you could get. And it was just amazing. And then just kind of started happening, you know, like things that were happening throughout the season where it's like just kept reaffirming it, you know, and driving it home. And then, you know, the playoff series in Tampa, and then the home run that Poppy hits, you know, and like, you know, you think about it, all these first responders, all these police officers putting their, you know, life on the line to try and catch these guys. And Poppy hits that home run. And what's the image? A police officer holding his arms up in the air, you know? Wow. It was just, it was amazing, man. And then, you know, like I just remember before Game 6 of the World Series, I knew that I was going to, there was a real good chance I knew I was going to retire. I didn't know, but I knew, you know? And John Farrell's going around doing his laps with everybody. Who's available? What do you want to do? Are you available? Are you good? You good? You feel good? Right. And I just said to him, and I punched out Matt Adams to end Game 1 of the World Series. So in my head, I'm like, that'd be the last hitter I ever faced in the big leagues. Right. And I said to him, I said, hey, Skip, we're going to win today. So I just want you to know that, like, if we're winning by a bunch of runs, don't feel like you need to get me in an inning just to get me in. Like, just do your thing, but I'm good. So let's pop some champagne after the game. Yeah. And we did. And it was just, and then you walk out of the stadium, you know, and you see, you know.
You saw me.
Yeah, it was awesome. Well, that was on,
wait, I got this. Hold on.
Like, and like, you know, like you win something like that.
This is it, right? This is it?
For you, and we got that picture right there. One of my favorite pictures
awesome.
ever.
By the way, I've covered I don't know 20 World Series. That was about as much of a party that didn't leave the stadium as anywhere. The band was there. The Boston guys.
I was in the Boston.
We had them on the show I was doing. Yeah, you guys.
My brother Casey.
You guys were so fired up. It was so cool.
Yeah, we didn't want to leave. It was like we didn't want anybody to leave.
That's the greatest thing about Boston. If you can win it in Boston, I was there in 2008. We lost in the ALCS, but those fans were like as passionate as I've ever seen. It's like life or death there. So for you guys to win it and deliver the championship trophy, you know, must have been unbelievable. Can you take us back to Big Poppy in that series?
Yeah. I mean, it was like
I think he hit 700 or it was 670, something ridiculous.
Yeah. Everything.
What was he like in the club? I mean, was there anything he was doing different? I mean,
no,
it was unbelievable, dude.
No, I think he just like, you know, sometimes you just find that zone.
Yeah.
He just found it at the best time possible.
Oh my gosh.
And it was amazing too, because people were like, well, why did they even pitch to him? They walked him a ton too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like
everything they threw, he hammered.
Yeah. And it was like, I think he made maybe one or two soft outs. Like it was like, he was just hammering the baseball. He was, you know, and then on top of it behind him. So the Napoli was hitting. So then if they walked, like you couldn't walk him because the guy behind him was hitting, you know, like he was just so locked in. And I think like after that speech that he gave, you know, and I know it was like so much earlier in the season, but it elevated his status of how we already felt about him. It's like he took that on himself. Like he took on that leadership role. And then so when he was started to go well, it was like, oh yeah, here he goes, you know? So then everybody's telling him how good he is. And when you're going good and everybody's telling you, you just
go better.
Oh, it was just like this, just this perfect, like, forces of nature's meet in every direction. He had the mental aspect going. He had the physical aspect going. He was hitting good pitches, bad pitches. It didn't matter, and like after we got by Detroit, it was like, you couldn't stop us. Like you couldn't. We were just a freight train, man. Like it didn't matter what. Like, and I just knew we were gonna win. And he was just. And then he holds that meeting in the dugout, which I was out in the bullpen when it happened. But talking about it afterwards with guys, like, he just said the right things all year. He led by example. He was dealing with all that foot stuff too, and he just kept going out there. And yeah, man, we just had everybody contributed in big ways. Koji was next level, ridiculously good.
Yeah.
It was like if a guy was it's like he knew the cheat code to a video game. Honestly, he was like, oh, he's taking here 4-seamer 88 right down the middle. Oh, you're gonna swing, split in the dirt, like for months. It was just like it was crazy. And the every little thing's gonna be all right with Victorino.
Oh yeah,
that was so cool. That was so.
Cool. We always talked about it. We always talked about the 3 Fs: fielding, fundamentals, and 4-run homers.
That's great.
They worked. Yeah.
That's so good.
You do those 3 things. You field the ball. You fundamentally play good, and you hit 4-run homers. You're gonna beat a lot of people.
That's awesome.
So good.
Great team.
So you get the championship, Demp. 2013, you walk away 16 years. We all the way back to getting drafted by the Rangers. 2019, you get elected into the Canadian Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I want to go really quick to one guy who just got inducted into Cooperstown, Larry Walker. He seems like, him and Fergie Jenkins are probably, the 2 big Canadians. Did Larry Walker have an influence on you guys as kids growing up when you're watching this guy, playing up there in the big leagues?
Yeah, absolutely. Because he was the guy. Like Fergie, I never saw Fergie play.
Right.
By the time Fergie was done playing, I was just getting into watching baseball. So, but I knew of him. Other guys along the way, you'd have these guys like Paul Spaljeric or Real Cormier. You'd have different guys, that were Canadian baseball players that were in there.
Yeah.
There wasn't like the guy. Larry was the guy. He was the guy, and so it's like not only was he a Canadian playing baseball, he was a Canadian playing baseball, winning the MVP, dominating the league, doing all facets of the game. So, and he came from Maple Ridge, which was, not far from where I was. So it was it made it more real.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It didn't make it this dream. And so he just really, really drove home that narrative of you could, and then having a chance to face him in Colorado, and which he didn't treat me very nice. Backdoor slider, 3-run homer, first at bat. Then he had another hit. So then I finally just drilled him right in the butt.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm like, if you're just gonna keep hitting homers and think like I'm just this like young Canadian kid just looking up to you, and I'm just gonna keep pumping you strikes, it's gonna be a different story. Yeah. So.
Well, I was lucky enough, by the way, to help a very big moment in Larry Walker's career and yours too, Ryan, getting a chance to be with him the day after he made it to the Hall of Fame, and I was able to take a picture for you guys, right?
Yeah, it was a great picture. Do you have a copy of it? Because it is really good.
Here it is. Go to our YouTube page. This is no joke. You can explain.
That's so bad, Chinch. Like, what happened, bro? That's like total drop the ball.
I was running around, and Jeter was there too. So Harold and the rest of the country was swarming around, chasing Jeter across the field, and I was like, I gotta go.
Do you have the kind of respect the Canadians get at the network?
Yeah, the Canadians just want one good picture with Dempster and Walker. We get a freaking.
Looks like a sellout. Here, look, Case. I fixed it, Case. Look, that's better, right? There you go. Anyway,
that's so good. Yeah. So you going into the Canadian Hall of Fame? What? Come on, man! Like, all those ferry rides, all those times, $20 to your mom, staying with buddies. Like, 2019, you're in the Canadian Hall of Fame. Like,
incredible. Humbling. Like, writing a speech for that, right? Like, I'm never short of words, but I was there. It was really hard. It was hard to write it. I didn't know what I wanted to say. I think the biggest message that my speech was how thankful I was for everybody. Like, I talked about my mom giving me, money, but like, people in our community that had money, we didn't have a lot of money. I needed to go travel to go play baseball. Here's $1,000.
Wow.
Here's $1,000. The support system that I had, like I said, the teachers, like I was just so thankful. Coaches that I had along the way that, able to get me there. And And I think, when you grow up, you dream of being a baseball player, right? Like we had that dream. And then I never thought I'm going to make a Hall of Fame, any Hall of Fame, not even my high school Hall of Fame. I never thought that. So then, to get inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, and then to be there and have Fergie Jenkins be the, the person who puts the jacket on you and presents you with getting into the Hall of Fame. It was incredible, man. It was emotional. It was, it was, and two, it was like, I was very proud of myself, because it was like you talk about all those ferry rides. I was proud for my parents, because they committed a lot of stuff, and to be able to have all that, and then to get in there with all these great people, to go in with Rob Thompson, the Yankees, ex-Yankees, now the Phillies bench coach, with Jason Bay, with Gord Ash, a great collection of people to go in with, and you're looking around the room, and you're seeing Pat Gillick sitting right in front of you, staring you down. So it was just so great. I had to let Fergie know too, because Fergie holds every record in the books.
Right.
It's like you name it. But I got his ass and walked, hit by pitches, and nobody gave up more Grand Slams in Canadian baseball history than me. So, hey Fergie, man, you might have been great, but you couldn't hold my jock at those ones. So,
oh my God, so great.
Yeah.
So
no,
great.
it was incredibly special. I mean, it's there forever, right?
Yeah.
And St. Mary's is this beautiful town outside of Toronto, and they do such a great job there. It's Canada's version of Cooperstown, and it's
awesome.
a really, really special place.
That is so awesome, man. Wow. It's so funny, us being friends all these years. Then when you go to look at your buddies, numbers and the accolades and what they've done, you're like, oh my God, it's like so. It's really cool to kind of go down memory lane with you and see all that. We do the thing at the mayor's office on the last thing, Chinch. We got this thing called 9 and 90.
All right.
And go ahead, Chinch, take it away.
I'm gonna roll the animation. Let's see if it works. What do you think?
Yeah.
I think it worked. Did it work? You
There
hear
it
the
is.
beats now? Shout out to Telestream, our new little system we got here. All right, this is how it works, Demp. Are you ready for this?
Right.
I'm very excited. You are two of the funnier, best people I know, so I'm excited to do this. Basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to ask Sean a question. You just pick it up right after. It's this or that type questions. Okay, 9 questions. We're going 9 innings, 90 seconds.
You got it.
Case, I'm going to start with you. You ready? Would you rather have just one nipple or 2 belly buttons?
I think 2 belly buttons would be a little bit better than 1 nipple.
Ryan?
I'd go 1 nipple because I actually have a little bit of a third nipple. I've never really discussed that. It's not even that it's a third nipple. My 1 nipple split in 2 a little bit, so it looks like it sometimes. So I'd take 1 for a change.
This is why this is off to a good start. I'm glad we have you here. Okay, second one, Sean. What's a worse feeling, being embarrassed or being afraid?
I think being embarrassed is worse. When you get thrown out from left field, it's embarrassing.
I would agree with Sean. I'd much rather be embarrassed than afraid. Being afraid.
I can get over being afraid. I can get over being afraid.
I'll jump off that cliff.
Okay.
That sucks.
Can't get embarrassment back.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Canadians, this is going to be a tough one for Ryan. Sean, you go first. You can never watch any movie ever again from one of these famous Canadian actors. Which actor are you choosing to eliminate? Jim Carrey, Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, or Martin Short?
Probably Martin Short, because the other guys I really, really like. Martin Short's I like Martin Short's great, but I'd probably eliminate him out of those guys.
I'm gonna say, who's the second one?
We got Jim Carrey, Dan Aykroyd, John Candy.
I'd go Dan Aykroyd.
Wow,
I love it, but those other 3 guys I gotta have.
Wow.
All right, good ones. All right, Sean, how many chickens do you think?
Can we pause for a sec?
Yeah.
Pause for 1 second.
Are you going? Where's he going?
What was the next one?
He's back.
All right. I'm
back.
not going to play the music. We're just going to finish it this way. It'll be good. I'm going to just start.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. Are you ready? Fuck.
So good. So good.
All right. Sean, how many chickens do you think it would take to kill an elephant?
Oh, it would take like 200, 300? 300.
300?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 1.
Okay, good.
1 chicken, because he's gonna choke on it. Huh? Yeah, you like that?
Wow.
All right,
That's
Sean.
that Canadian quick wit right there.
Good job. If you were stranded on a desert island and ran out of food, would you choose to resort to cannibalism or die of starvation?
Oh, I definitely eat somebody's.
Yeah.
Whatever. I eat whatever. I don't know. The rump roast. I'd eat somebody's rump if I had to.
It's really easy to say starve to death, but until you're really, really, really hungry,
Right, I got to do it.
I'm gonna
All right.
I'll eat a pig right now and a cow. I'm gonna eat a human.
make some beef jerky and stuff.
Yeah, I gotta
Ration it out.
Live, doesn't
All
matter.
right. Good job, fellas. Okay. What would be more annoying, Sean? Having to clip your nails every day or get your hair cut every day?
Get your hair cut, because then somebody's got to do that. I could clip my nails, bite them. I bite them every day anyhow, so it's no big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up Top Chinch, I'm saying that's a quick process.
I'm with
so
you.
clipping my nails every day, I'm good on that. I'll pass on that.
Good. 3 more. Okay, here we go. Another thing. Ryan does some magic tricks. I've seen him do magic tricks. Sean, rank these magicians from worst to best. David Blaine, David Copperfield, Penn and Teller. They're going to be combined as one.
I'd say Penn and Teller, Copperfield, Blaine.
Okay.
I think Blaine's awesome, right?
Yeah, you went from worst to first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Penn and Teller, Blaine, Copperfield.
Wow.
Yeah. Claudia Schiffer was the deciding factor.
Right,
in that.
Yeah, I got you there. Okay, good. All right, 2 left.
Anybody can,
Because she was hot.
hey, anybody can turn her blind for a bit to realize. I'm just kidding. Don't make me
No,
disappear,
yeah.
Dave.
Nah, whatever. He's not watching. All right, worst thing to happen on vacation, Sean, is sunburn or the runs.
You know what? I don't mind a sunburn because I got the Irish skin. It usually happens to the runs, because if you're out on the beach having a good time and you gotta, drop a bomb or something, there's nothing worse than having the runs.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that. That's a pressing issue that I just don't even want to deal with. I get some aloe going,
Okay.
it'll be gone in a day or two. I'll have a nice base tan,
Right.
but
I like
the
that.
runs are the worst.
Terrible.
They're
Yeah.
bad. Although you can lose weight. All right, this last one's a visual. Sean and I and our significant others were arguing over this yesterday. We got a really nice, what do you call it, a review from somebody on the Apple podcast, which you can go and do for us. This one's just for Ryan, Sean. Let's see what his answer is to this. Who do you think this fan was talking about, Sean or Chinch? What an awesome podcast. The host is knowledgeable, funny, and handsome. Really well done. Must listen if you're a baseball diehard or just want some laughs. So I actually argue that they're talking about Sean, and they just didn't know sports, and they just saw his
But
picture.
your wife said they were talking about you.
You think?
That's a really tough one because I feel like, you guys each qualify for 3 of those 4 adjectives. So to figure out which ones are which.
Okay.
I love you, Chinch, but I'm gonna go with Case on this.
Yeah, nobody knows who the fuck I am. I'm all for that. That's the way I've been wanting it my whole life. And Sean is handsome, especially with the new haircut, and he's all cleaned up
No
now.
kidding,
I'm so
right?
proud of him. All right,
man.
that's it. That was
It's like
10. That was 10. You got through. Or 9.
That's it, Demp.
Yeah.
That's
love
it, bro.
that.
Thank you.
Dude,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Welcome. Thanks for coming in the mayor's office.
I am so fired. I hope that sometime down the road, a year or 2 down the road, I can come back to the mayor's office.
We would like
Yeah.
to have you back.
Yeah.
We would like to have you back. And that was awesome, man. And
Thanks.
it was cool. It was, like I said, it was really cool. Like, all these years I've known you, I was like, wow, Dempster did a lot of good things. This is really cool.
Yeah.
This is gonna be
And
really
you were
cool
only
talk.
21st on our list, Ryan. You were only the 21st on his list. You were right up there towards the top.
Yeah, 22nd.
Good number.
Yeah. Good number. 22. I was 22 for the Red Sox. That's what it was.
That's
You played
what it
with
was.
Red Sox.
Yeah.
It was that connection. It was that
There you
connection.
go. But
Yeah.
by
All
the
right,
way, on
brother.
my end,
All right.
Love you,
Damper,
man.
love you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Chinch.
Chinch.
All right, fellas.
All right, brother.